Some of the biggest and most important what-ifs in the Naruto universe revolve around characters in Naruto who didn't live up to their fullest potential. Characters like Rock Lee, Shino, and most importantly for today, Neji. See, with Neji, people ask a lot of questions because, well, Neji was introduced as the most impressive ninja in the Konoha 12 in the early days of Naruto. Unfortunately, as time progressed, he slid further and further out of the story. And thus people ask questions like, what if Neji continued to gain strength? What if he survived the 4th grade Shinobi World War? And the most important question, by far and away, what if him and Sasuke fought during the Chunin exams? Who would win? See, because for the entirety of part 1 of Naruto, it seems as though Neji and Sasuke are on some kind of collision course. Neji is the genius of last year and Sasuke is the genius of this year. One, the last Uchiha, the user of the Sharingan, the other a prophetic member of the Hyuga family, a user of the Byakugan. In fact, the two of them even come face to face in the beginning of the Chunin exams, before the written exams. However, this brief interaction of the two of them quipping at each other is literally the only time Sasuke and Neji ever have face-to-face interaction in Naruto as a story. I'm not kidding. In the lead up to the written exam, when Neji's like, hey, what's your name? And Sasuke's like, I'm not gonna tell you. That is literally the only conversation Sasuke and Neji have in the manga. But what if the two of them did have more overlap? What if the two of them were able to settle the question, which of them was the greater genius in the Chunin exams? Well, today, that's the question we're gonna be answering, because today we're talking who wins Neji versus Sasuke. But before we get to deciding what moody, dark-haired dojutsu user wins this fight, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you're looking for one additional NC Hammer 23 video every single week, guys, I am about to hit these fights in my Naruto reaction series. So if you want to watch that, you can find it using the 4th wall link in my description below. So it's important to note here that we are talking about the Neji and the Sasuke that fought in the final rounds of the Chunin exams, and that this fight will be taking place in the Chunin exams. And as it's in the Chunin exams, there's gonna be some rules. The first and most important of which is no killing. Not that either of these two would try to kill each other. They have no animosity towards each other. Like, Sasuke's not going to be trying to run through Neji's chest with a Chidori. The second rule is kind of a weird one, which is just that Sasuke doesn't get to use the curse mark. Now, I know some of you are already beginning to say, oh, Nick, of course you're going to handicap Sasuke in this fight. It's important to note here that during the Chunin exams, Sasuke couldn't use the curse mark. Not only because if Sasuke started using the curse mark during the Chunin exams, the fight would have been stopped immediately, as Kakashi would have stepped in and been like, what are you doing? We said don't use that. But also, I feel as though a lot of people feel as though because Sasuke was able to use the curse mark during the Forest of Death, that he would be able to use the curse mark during the Chunin exams, but that's not the case. Sasuke could not use the curse mark willy-nilly in his battle against Gaara. I mean, after their battle in the actual Chunin exams, after the Konoha Crush has been kicked off, Sasuke is able to track down Gaara in the woods. And the two of them do continue their fight there in the woods. And Sasuke is able to hit a partially transformed Gaara with 2 separate Chidori, with the second of which coming by way of activating his curse mark. And while his curse mark is probably the only reason that Sasuke had enough chakra to be able to pull off a Chidori for what was then a 3rd time that day, as previously his limit had been twice, the second that the curse mark takes over Sasuke's entire body, he passes out. He's unable to move his body. And so while the curse mark might have been able to get him over the hump of needing enough chakra to pull off a Chidori for a 3rd time, it's also a double-edged sword that would have got him killed if Naruto had swung in with his foot and kicked Gaara out of the way of landing a killing blow on the unable to move Sasuke. So even if we were to allow Sasuke to use his curse mark in this battle, this version of Sasuke doesn't know how to use his curse mark. It is at this moment in time more of a hindrance than it is a help. So with those rules out of the way, who wins in this fight? Sasuke or Neji? Well, to set the stage in the best possible way to understand how exactly strong each and every single one of these combatants are, we have to talk about their most relevant fights. So Neji versus Naruto and Sasuke versus Gaara. Now, the easier of these two fights to break down is absolutely Sasuke versus Gaara. And that's because objectively, Sasuke versus Gaara is not that good of a fight. The fight itself is incredibly straightforward. Sasuke and Gaara show up in the Chunin exams Coliseum. The fight starts and Sasuke immediately upon activating his Sharingan shows off that he's been able to copy Rock Lee's weightless taijutsu. Not only the taijutsu itself, but also its speed. And therefore Sasuke displays that he is as fast as Rock Lee without his leg weights on and is therefore faster than the auto defense of Gaara's muscle mother's sand. So Sasuke then goes on to land a flurry of blows on Gaara, cracking his sand armor, which leads to Gaara turtling. That is to say, activating his ultimate defense, which is a big bubble of sand, creating a third eye to float above him so that he can exist inside of the safe bubble of sand and use the sand of the bubble to attack Sasuke from inside the bubble. But Sasuke didn't spend a month training to not be able to cut through a little bit of sand, and so he runs up the wall of the Colosseum, activates his Chidori, runs down the wall of the Colosseum, and punches through the bubble of sand, cutting Gaara and giving us one of the greatest English delivered lines of all time. Now, the most important takeaway from this fight and trying to figure out exactly how strong Sasuke is the fact that Sasuke was able to copy Rock Lee's weightless taijutsu. Sasuke being able to pull this off speaks to an absolutely ludicrous level of speed. A level of speed that's able to outclass Gaara's auto defense, that's controlled by his mother spirit, isn't even something that Kimimaro in his version 1 curse mark form could do. And here's the thing, we know how fast Gaara's auto defense sand is. See, because when Gaara was a child and Yashimaru, his uncle, was sent to kill him, not only was Gaara able to avoid this assassination attempt, hitting Yashimaru with a sand burial that injured him so fatally that he understood that he was going to die, and therefore he decided to use a suicide vest made out of paper bombs to try and finish the job against Gaara. However, Gaara, who was so incredibly upset that it was Yashimaru who was trying to assassinate him, simply was crying on his knees in this moment when Yashimaru went to rip open this vest full of paper bombs. But Gaara's sand doesn't react to intent. Gaara's mother's spirit inside of his sand doesn't see a paper bomb burning and decide to cover him in sand. Rather, Gaara's sand doesn't defend him until something encroaches on his space. And therefore, when Gaara's mother's sand is able to protect him from this explosion that Gaara was only a meter away from, the sand had to react to the explosion enclosing on Gaara's space and then cover him in a protective layer. And the speed to be able to protect Gaara from an explosion he's only 1 meter away from is insane. In fact, it's been calculated at about Mach 58, or 58 times the speed of sound. Now, mind you, this is when Gaara was a child, but we don't necessarily have any evidence to say that, oh, Gaara's auto defense sand gets faster the older and stronger he gets. It's not Gaara controlling the sand, it's his mother's spirit, and therefore there's really no reason for her sand to get faster. Now, maybe you can make some points about Gaara's sand moving on its own at speeds much faster than Mach 58 when he's an adult, but there's really no calculable attacks that happen to Gaara that he's able to block using his auto sand that clock in at above Mach 58 before the final fight of the Chunin exams against Sasuke. So Gaara's auto defense sand, and therefore people who are able to move faster than Gaara's auto defense sand, clock in somewhere around the region of Mach 58, or high hypersonic plus. Now add Sasuke's Sharingan to all of this, which, mind you, he had a month to train with between the first part of the Chunin exams one-on-one fights and the final fights, and consider the fact that in the Land of Waves arc, Sasuke was able to use his Sharingan to perceive the movements of Haku between mirrors, something that was said to happen at the speed of light. However, Haku himself admits that A, he wasn't really trying his hardest, and B, because of how long this fight took, that his teleportation between mirrors was slowing down into the perception range of Sasuke's Sharingan. However, even if we assume that Haku was not moving at peak speed, considering the fact that peak speed is light speed, anything below that is still incredibly fast. While Sasuke was technically able to perceive Haku's movements, that doesn't mean he was able to keep up with Haku's movements. I mean, yes, he was able to burn off the bottom of Haku's pants with the fireball and dodge some of the Senbon thrown by Haku, but those Senbon weren't moving at the speed of light. They were moving at the speed of how fast Haku can throw a Senbon. But still, this is all very impressive. Sasuke goes into the final fight of the Chunin exams with high hypersonic plus speed, and even faster reaction speed and extrasensory perception. Probably somewhere in the region of massively hypersonic to massively hypersonic plus reaction time. Now, as for AP, we've seen Sasuke injure Gaara multiple times in multiple different forms. Not only was Sasuke able to punch through Gaara's ultimate defense with his Chidori, but he's also able to slash through 2 of Gaara's partially transformed Shukaku arms. On top of this, with just his Taijutsu, he was able to break through Gaara's sand armor. Now, to do all of this, to damage not only Gaara, but also partially transformed Gaara, implies that Sasuke's AP is somewhere in the region of city block to multi-city block. So Sasuke's stats around the final battle of the Chunin exams are high hypersonic plus speeds with a multi-city block level AP, sprinkle on a massively hypersonic reaction time, and enough stamina to be able to activate his Sharingan for a couple of minutes and use his Chidori twice. But what about Neji? Neji's most important fight, his battle against Naruto, is a bit tougher to break down than Sasuke versus Gaara. However, it is more impressive. See, Neji easily trounces Naruto in the beginning of their fight in the final part of the Chunin exams. It's not until Naruto asks Kurama to give him chakra and starts welling it up from his core that the fight gets a little bit more even. Now, over the course of this fight against Naruto, Neji pulls off an 8 trigrams, 64 palms, 4 rotations, and has his Byakugan activated for 7 whole minutes. But by far and away, the most impressive thing that Neji does over the course of this fight is win or at least tie in a chakra clash against a Kurama boosted Naruto. See, for those of you who have forgotten, a Kurama boosted Naruto was able to catch Haku, not track Haku, catch Haku before he was able to jump into an ice mirror. We just said that Sasuke's ability to track Haku from mirror to mirror was a massively hypersonic reaction speed feat. So remember, all that Sasuke was able to do upon being able to track Haku was burn the bottom of his pants with a fireball. Naruto, when boosted by Kurama's chakra, was able to grab Haku by the ankle, and Neji was able to keep up with that level of speed. See, if we assume that Haku was moving at peak speed when Naruto grabbed him by the ankle, because he absolutely should have at least been trying to, because Haku was scared to his core of Naruto with his Kurama boost, saying things like his entire aura has changed and that there's murder in his eyes. All things that somebody would say if they were trying to desperately avoid somebody. And Naruto grabbing Haku is a light speed feat. However, if we want to lowball this feat because Haku was tired from an elongated battle against Sasuke and Naruto, this is still, at the very least, a sub-relativistic feat. Meaning that while this feat is slower than the speed of light, it is close. Which means Neji's ability to keep up with this form in their final fight means that Neji was moving at least sub-relativistic speeds. And this makes sense. One of the only people who wasn't surprised by Rock Lee's massive uptick in speed when he dropped off his leg weights was Neji. But why? Well, because he'd seen it before. See, Rock Lee, up until his battle against Gaara, fully understands that he probably doesn't stand a chance against Neji in combat. Now, it's not because Rock Lee's never gotten the chance to drop his leg weights when he's sparring with Neji. No, that's because Rock Lee understands that Neji is faster than him without his leg weights on. In fact, the only thing that Neji was surprised by was when Rock Lee started opening the gates. And that's because Rock Lee and Might Guide trained in the gates in privacy. And one of the only reasons that Rock Lee trained in the gates is so he could get additional strength to overcome Neji. So we know that Rock Lee understands that he needs to open the gates on top of having his weightless speed to stand a chance in combat against Neji, which confirms that Neji's speed is greater than that of a weightless Rock Lee, and therefore sub-relativistic makes a fair amount of sense. Now, as for AP, Neji was able to go toe-to-toe with a rotation against a Kurama-boosted Naruto, and both he and Naruto were rocketed out of this clash of powers. Now, Neji is technically the person who crawls out of his crater, but that's kind of only because Naruto is trying to lay a trap for Neji by leaving a shadow clone in his crater and then digging under his shadow clone and then uppercutting Neji, who's no longer using his Byakugan, and therefore he can't see him underground. But still, Neji with his rotation was able to counter the power of an incoming Naruto boosted by Kurama. And this is insane because Naruto has done some crazy things up until this moment while accessing Kurama's chakra. Like in the Forest of Death, when Naruto was able to halt and injure Orochimaru's gigantic snake that was hundreds of feet long. A feat that's been calced very easily to town level. And mind you, when Naruto did this, stop a giant summoning snake, almost Manda-sized, he was accessing substantially less of Kurama's chakra than when he was battling against Neji. However, a time when he was accessing a comparable amount of Kurama's chakra was his battle against Haku, who he was able to completely overwhelm and take out with just one punch. Now, mind you, up until this moment, Haku had made a life out of killing high-level Jonin, but immediately after getting socked by Naruto and coming into contact with Kurama's chakra, Haku understood that he was completely and totally outclassed and just gave up. And honestly, that's fair. Naruto's chakra in that moment was so potent, Kakashi temporarily thought he was Zabuza. And Zabuza, after feeling Naruto's chakra, said his chakra was bigger than Kakashi's and made him feel all ucky inside. And he kills people. Therefore, the fact that Neji was able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of a Kurama-boosted Naruto and at least tie, being able to not only blast Naruto backwards, but also walk away from being blasted backwards by a Kurama-boosted Naruto, implies that Neji has an AP that could be compared to that of Zabuza, could be considered that of larger than Land of Waves Kakashi, an AP that would be able to take out the likes of Haku, and so so much more. Naruto just stopping Orochimaru's giant snake is count to a town-level feat. They're able to tell how big the snake is using Naruto and Orochimaru as comparisons and counting pixels, and the fact that Naruto is able to halt the momentum of that entire snake implies that that is a town-level feat, based off the amount of energy that would be required to halt a mass that large. And mind you, that was while accessing way less chakra than he accessed in the Chunin exams. Therefore, there's a lot of people, in fact, it is the conventionally accepted opinion that Genin Naruto, while amped by Kurama, is City Plus, and Neji at least tied him in a power struggle. Neji lost. Well, I mean, like, yeah, he lost to Naruto because Naruto used the trick while taking advantage of Neji's arrogance. However, if Neji was going into a fight against somebody he respected, somebody like Sasuke, he probably wouldn't be as arrogant. So who wins? Curse mark or not, it's Neji. See, while Sasuke can mirror Rock Lee's speed, he doesn't have the stamina to maintain it. We see Sasuke use Rock Lee's speed for like 2 minutes and he's gassed. And that's because even though he's able to use the taijutsu and use the speed, he doesn't have Rock Lee's ridiculous conditioning. That's not something you can copy. And his copied speed is copied from a guy who needs the 4th and 5th gates to have a chance at adding on to that speed so he can defeat Neji. But Nick, what about the Chidori? I mean, yeah, Sasuke's really only chance in this battle is a well-placed Chidori. And the Chidori is said to move at an almost impossible speed. So maybe, just maybe, Sasuke's Chidori does move faster than his copied weightless Rock Lee taijutsu. But considering the fact that he uses it against a stationary object, which is Gaara and his sand bubble, we can't say if his Chidori would have been able to outspeed Gaara's auto defense sand. Now, some of you are probably going to want me to say that Sasuke is as fast as an amped Naruto because he, like Naruto, was able to hit Haku while Haku was traveling between mirrors. But Haku is literally talking about how he's slowing down while Sasuke's activating his Sharingan. And Sasuke never lays a hand on Haku. A fireball jutsu burns the bottom of Haku's pants. Not where Sasuke was aiming, mind you. And even if we did say that Sasuke was faster than we calced him in this video, Neji is able to, during his battle against Naruto, to dodge essentially a flash step punch from a Kurama boosted Naruto. Naruto is flying towards Neji, he disappears, he appears behind Neji, and then Neji dodges his punch. And even if their speed is equal, Neji absolutely trounces Sasuke in terms of AP. Immediately after this fight, Naruto is responsible, using the assistance of Kurama's chakra for the defeat of Gaara, something that Sasuke could not do. Naruto shows up, battles against partially transformed Gaara, a form that Sasuke could not defeat. Yes, Sasuke was able to cut 2 sand arms off Gaara, but Gaara immediately recovered and was going to kill Sasuke. Naruto then, using the assistance of Kurama's chakra, literally battles against Shukaku, and that's who Neji was able to go toe-to-toe with. There is a reason that Sasuke gets so jealous after seeing what Naruto is able to do in battle against Gaara that he literally rage quits Konoha. And that's the monster that Neji was able to match power with. Now, if we want to talk about who wins in a fight at the end of part 1 of Naruto, so version 2 curse mark Sasuke against end of the Sasuke retrieval arc Neji, then that is a much closer fight. Sasuke's version 2 curse mark amped Chidori is probably more than Neji's rotation would be able to counter. But even that fight is closer to a coin flip than a lot of people are willing to admit. Neji was a problem. Just because he gets forgotten after part 1 of Naruto doesn't mean that he didn't kill one of the Sound Village 4 by using Gentle Fist through a chakra thread. After, mind you, getting a tennis ball sized hole shot through his shoulder. Way worse in the manga than it is in the anime. But yeah, the Neji wins, and it's not necessarily close. The only reason that Neji loses his battle against Naruto is his arrogance and his hubris, and because of that, he learns a pretty valuable lesson. He keeps his Byakugan on another 10, 15 seconds and sees Naruto crawling out from under his shadow clone. Yeah, he's gonna win. But like a UFC farmer trying to aura farm by not trying to follow up on his opponent once they hit the ground, he stopped the fight too early. Now, the real question, honestly, is who wins, Gaara or Neji? What's Neji gonna do against Shukaku? I don't know. Maybe he would let him get that far. But if you guys want to see more of these hypothetical previous form fights, let me know in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. Now, if you'll excuse me, there's 8 puppies in my garage, and well, I gotta make sure they don't die.